Is blindness a barrier? No.
Is deafness a barrier? No.
Are mobility, learning, cognitive disabilities, speech impairments and others, or even a combination of them, barriers? No way. Lack of accessibility is.
Welcome to Web Accessibility for All.
Follow the blind. This journey starts now.
Okay team, usability test results are in.
Awesome. Users love the flow. No blockers. Super intuitive. Wait, which users tested it?
And that's the moment where 1,000 accessibility bugs escaped into production. Hey my friend, welcome back to Web Accessibility for All, where we uncover the hidden layers behind inclusive design, one real-world story at a time. I am Ariel, your host. I am a web accessibility specialist and a software engineer who's been building digital interfaces for over 25 years, and the last 10 as a blind developer. In today's episode, we are talking about usability testing, but not the version that most teams run by default. We'll look at what happens when we test with real users, but forget to include users with disabilities. We'll explore bias, business pressure, and the big fixes that come from asking the right people to try your product. And I'll give you tips for how to run accessibility-informed usability testing that actually improves your product for everyone. Let's get into it.
When usability tests lie.
Usability testing is supposed to give us confidence. Real users tried it out and they tell us where they get stuck. It's honest, it's grounded, it works, right? Well, sometimes. Here's the problem. If the only people testing your product are sighted, tech-savvy, and used to tapping, dragging, and scrolling like pros, they are not going to hit the same walls people with disabilities do. They just won't. Let me give you an example. A team redesigns a checkout flow. They are proud of the new minimal look. Fewer borders, floating labels, low contrast text on light gray backgrounds. They ran a usability test with 6 users. All 6 complete the checkout with 0 friction. Success! But what they didn't know was that the floating labels vanish as soon as the field has focus. The placeholder text is the only cue left, and it disappears when you type. A screen magnifier user wouldn't see the field label at all. A screen reader might not announce it properly if the markup isn't right. A dyslexic user might lose track of the form's structure. None of those issues showed up because none of those people were invited. This is what I call the illusion of usability. The team thinks they've verified the experience, but they only tested a small slice of the real audience.
Traditional usability testing.
So let's break this down. Usability testing typically focuses on
Efficiency.
how fast users complete a task,
Effectiveness.
whether they can't complete it at all,
Satisfaction.
how they felt using it. These are all good metrics, but if you want to build an inclusive product, Your usability testing must include diverse bodies, minds, tools, and contexts. Otherwise, you are not testing usability. You are just validating comfort zones.
Usability testing with access in mind.
Alright, let's get practical. What does it look like when a team actually runs a usability test that includes accessibility? Who do you involve? What do you test? How do you even observe things you can see? Before we get into logistics, let me hit you with a quote.
The beginning of wisdom is the definition of terms.
That was Socrates, probably before yelling at someone about drop-down menus. If your team doesn't define what accessible usability means for your context, you'll never know what to look for or what are you missing. So, what should be defined? Start with this.
What flows are critical for people with disabilities? What assistive tech needs to be supported? Which disabilities are you actively designing for right now? What are you not testing? And are you okay with that?
A realistic accessibility inclusive usability test starts with participants who bring different ways of perceiving and interacting with your interface. Someone with low vision using zoom or high contrast, a screen reader user, a person with dyslexia or cognitive accessibility needs, a mobile voice user relying on voice commands or dictation, a switch device or keyboard-only user. Now let's talk tooling. During the session, your design or research team should do more than just take notes. You want screen recordings if the participant consents, audio of what their screen reader is announcing, notes on hesitation, retries, frustration, and most importantly, ask what they expected to happen. For example, if a user with ADHD struggles to find the primary action on a dance page, we note that as a design pattern issue, not just a page-specific problem. And if a user couldn't figure out how to close a sticky filter panel using just the keyboard, that turns into both a Figma annotation and a required unit test.
Design reviews, dev handoffs, and the demo trap.
You've run the test, gathered feedback, and everyone agrees. Your product needs accessibility fixes. Great. So what's next? Now we enter a space that's often ignored in accessibility conversations. The middle zone. The place between finding issues and actually fixing them.
Design critique.
Too often these sessions focus on visual polish, color palettes, spacing, alignment. So here is a better approach. During critiques, dedicate 5 to 10 minutes to walk through a flow using only a keyboard or a screen reader. Ask aloud.
Where does the keyboard go? What gets announced? Can I complete the task without a mouse?
The demo trap.
A team preps a beautiful pixel-perfect demo. Someone walks through it with a mouse, clicking through the happy bat. Everyone claps, and then the feature ships, and usable for half your users. So try this instead. Have one team member show the flow using just a keyboard. Let another try it using screen reader shortcuts. Plug in a switch device or use voice input on mobile. Let the features speak for itself.
Dev handoff.
Dev Handoff is a communication event. Tools like Figma are useful, but developers also need clear annotations for focus states and accessible labels, notes on expected keyboard behavior, any edge cases identified during usability testing.
Closing the loop and listening to what matters.
So you tested, iterated, demoed, handed off designs, built the thing. Now what? Well, we close the loop. This is where many teams drop the ball. Did you ever reach back out to those users who hit the wall on your early tests? Because here's the golden moment. When a user who struggles with your app sees that you listen. That's not just nice, that's impact. That's what accessibility usability testing is all about.
Ongoing feedback, not just one-offs.
Many teams think feedback ends with the test session, but that's not enough. You need lightweight, ongoing channels, especially for disabled users. Surveys with inclusive questions, feedback forms that support screen readers and voice, follow-up interviews a week after launch. Even better, invite those same users to a design critique or early prototype review next time.
Team learning and real change.
Let's take it back to the team. What happens after a round of accessibility testing? You could just fix tickets, or you could reflect together. A short retro with the design, dev and QA folks, where you ask,
what barriers did we miss during ideation? How did our tools help or get in the way? What should we standardize in the design system?
Every fix that becomes a reusable pattern help reduce future issues. That's how design teams scale inclusion.
What if every component we design had a test case for screen reader flow?
Now you are thinking like an inclusive team. Thank you very much for joining me today. If you like this episode, please share it with your team. And if you are running your first accessibility test, drop me a message. I'd love to hear how it went. Until next time, keep testing what matters. Goodbye.
Thanks for joining us today. Subscribe for a new challenge next week. And don't be shy. Leave us a review or ask your accessibility questions online. See you next week for another episode of Web Accessibility for All.